Lin Yuan awakened a god-level talent that mastered skills almost instantly. One glance could replace decades of training, practice, and cultivation. He also remembered his entire Lin family was destined for massacre. Every branch had fallen, leaving him the clan's final young heir. The original story would feed his family's resources to a future protagonist. God-level comprehension awakened and gave him a path to break fate. He opened the Eight Desolations Battle Art and understood everything within seconds. That first test launched his cultivation upward and shattered his doomed future. 18 years after being born in the Azure continent, Lin Yuan suddenly recovered the memories of his previous life on Earth. Those memories revealed the Northern Qin Empire was actually the setting of a badly written web novel. His recovered memories contained future events, enemies, and death flags that nobody else could see. His status sounded enviable because his grandfather was a founding war hero, and his mother carried the imperial bloodline. Yet the Lin family tree had already been cut down branch by branch through war, illness, and suspicious deaths. His grandfather's sons were gone, his older brother was dead, and Lin Yuan remained the clan's only surviving young heir. That made him less a protected noble than the final restraint, preventing his grandfather from turning against the entire empire. The novel's future was even uglier. That happened because Lin Yuan remembered exactly how the family would be destroyed once the protagonist appeared. A woman close to the Lin family would redirect precious medicines, crystals, and resources toward that protagonist instead. Those gifts would help the future hero rise. Meanwhile, the Lin clan weakened from inside and lost the strength to defend itself. Eventually, the entire family would be wiped out. And Lin Yuan's own death would be treated like disposable villain material. He refused to accept that outcome, now that he possessed memories the original character never had. More importantly, the main plot had not fully started. This gave him a narrow window to destroy every death flag beforehand. While he searched his memories for the safest route forward, a clear message sounded inside his mind. His awakened talent was called God-level comprehension, and its core rule was almost absurdly simple. Any technique, law, or martial principle he studied could be understood with speed, and depth ordinary cultivators could never match. The talent also drew the energy required for advancement from the surrounding world, instead of draining his personal resources. Lin Yuan immediately pulled out the Eight Desolations Battle Art. The cultivation method passed through his family. The manual belonged to the highest level of mortal martial arts available to the Lin clan and had defined his grandfather's fame. His grandfather had spent most of a lifetime pushing that art to a terrifying level through war, injury, and relentless cultivation. Lin Yuan opened the same pages and felt their complicated symbols turn into clear principles the moment his eyes moved across them. Meridian route, breathing patterns, force control, and combat arranged themselves naturally inside his mind without any confusion. Years of training were compressed into moments as his body gained the instinctive familiarity of someone who had practiced for decades. The talent did not merely help him memorize the manual, it gave him genuine mastery over every principle contained inside it. Before the shock could settle, the Eight Desolations Battle Art reached its highest intended level and entered complete perfection. That understanding dragged his cultivation upward with it. That happened because every stage of the art corresponded to a higher realm of power. His body surged through barriers that should have required years, skipping past the weakness everyone in the capital associated with him. Vital energy roared through his meridians, his muscles tightened, and the air around his clenched fist visibly distorted. In only moments, the supposedly mediocre young heir reached the peak of the postnatal realm, through the same art his grandfather treasured. The difference was humiliating to conventional logic. That happened because Grandfather Lin had needed decades to approach what Lin Yuan achieved instantly. Lin Yuan understood the real value immediately. This talent could turn knowledge itself into cultivation. Power. And survival. He checked the invisible progress connected to God-level comprehension and discovered that the talent itself could continue evolving. That meant instant mastery was only its starting point, not the final advantage he would receive from it. Instead of celebrating, Lin Yuan decided to feed the talent more techniques before his enemies realized anything had changed. His current cultivation art gave enormous raw power, but he still lacked movement skills, body refinement, and specialized attacks. Surviving the novel required more than one overwhelming strength. That happened because the protagonist's future luck could create impossible situations. Lin Yuan wanted a martial foundation with no obvious weakness. So he headed directly toward the Lin family's private library. On the way, he encountered Luhan Yin, a young woman who had lived inside the Lin estate for years. She had originally been connected to his deceased older brother and was treated by grandfather Lin almost like a granddaughter. Before recovering his memories, Lin Yuan had been close to her and carried complicated feelings built over many years together. The novel changed how he viewed that relationship. That happened because he remembered her later drifting toward the protagonist after the Lin family's destruction. Whether that future could still change was uncertain. So Lin Yuan chose distance rather than trusting the old relationship blindly. Luhan Yin noticed immediately when he passed without the warmth, teasing, or attention she had always expected from him. She asked about the fainting spell that had accompanied his recovered memories. But his answer remained polite and emotionally guarded. Her confusion followed him down the corridor. Meanwhile, Lin Yuan refused to explain the danger he believed was approaching their family. He reached the library, instead, where the strongest Lin techniques were kept behind restrictions only true clan members could cross. Two veteran guards protected the upper floor, both experienced postnatal cultivators who had once followed his grandfather through battle. They expected the familiar mediocre air. So even Lin Yuan's calm courtesy felt different enough to make them exchange surprised looks. Inside the restricted floor, he went straight for the techniques that could repair the gaps in his new martial foundation. He selected Heavenly Cloud 6 Illusions. A movement art designed around speed. Shifting positions. And deceptive afterimages. God-level comprehension stripped the principles bare before he had even finished slowly reading the manual like an ordinary student. He mastered the art to great perfection and gained the footwork of a veteran whose body already knew every transition. Next came Shadowless Sword Finger, an attack method that condensed sharp force through the fingers rather than requiring a weapon. That technique also reached perfection almost immediately. This gave Lin Yuan another complete combat system without years of repetitive training. His comprehension progress climbed with every valuable manual, confirming that learning powerful arts directly strengthened the talent itself. When Lin Yuan left the room, Heavenly Cloud 6 Illusions carried him past the guards in a blur of fading afterimages. One veteran recognized the movement and froze. That happened because the effect required mastery that normally belonged to cultivators far older than Lin Yuan. The young master who supposedly struggled with ordinary cultivation had just demonstrated an advanced family art after entering the library once. Lin Yuan did not stop to explain. That happened because the lower floors still contained dozens of techniques that could feed his growing comprehension. Middle-grade manuals were individually less valuable. But the library held enough of them to compensate through sheer quantity. He moved from one book to another, absorbing body art strikes, internal methods, and movement principles faster than servants could organize shelves. Some books barely moved the progress bar. Meanwhile, others contributed enough insight to push God-level comprehension toward its next stage. Eventually, the accumulated knowledge crossed the threshold, and the talent evolved to level 2. The evolution unlocked breakthrough insight, an ability that changed the value of every technique Lin Yuan already knew. From that moment, mastering a manual's intended limit was no longer enough. That happened because he could derive a higher level beyond its creator's design. The Eight Desolations Battle Art immediately revealed a path past its former ceiling as new principles formed inside his mind. He evolved the family art beyond great perfection. This forced his cultivation toward a boundary no ordinary postnatal expert could cross. He applied the same insight to Heavenly Cloud 6 and Shadowless Sword Finger, pushing both arts beyond their original limits. Each evolution made his movements cleaner, attacks sharper, and control more complete without sacrificing the stability of his cultivation. The breakthrough left Lin Yuan standing at the threshold between ordinary martial experts and the legendary realm above them. He now understood that one more major evolution of his core cultivation method could transform his entire level of existence. That possibility created a new problem. That happened because level 3 comprehension required far more knowledge than the Lin library could provide. Even the strongest clan in northern Qin possessed only a handful of manuals valuable enough to move his progress significantly. Lin Yuan responded by reading everything available, instead of wasting time complaining about the requirement. Low-grade arts gave tiny gains, but they still expanded his understanding of movement, weapons, tempering, and energy circulation. By the end of the sweep, his physical foundation had absorbed multiple complementary methods and become far tougher than before. Poisons and ordinary hidden techniques that could threaten normal nobles were now far less dangerous to his refined body. More importantly, Lin Yuan had built the balanced martial foundation he wanted before the main enemies of the novel even appeared. The family library could no longer satisfy his growth. So he started thinking about the only larger collection inside the capital. The Northern Qin Royal Library held hundreds of manuals gathered through conquest, tribute, and generations of imperial rule. Accessing it would also bring Lin Yuan dangerously close to the emperor, a man he had avoided for years. That political risk mattered because grandfather Lin's military prestige had long been powerful enough to frighten the throne. Lin Yuan suspected the repeated death since his family might be connected to that tension, even if he lacked final proof. Still, the royal archives contained one technique he needed for a far more personal reason than cultivation. Grandfather Lin carried old battlefield injuries that were slowly destroying his health, despite his immense martial strength. A medical art known as the life mystic needle existed in the palace and might be capable of repairing damage no physician could treat. With breakthrough insight, Lin Yuan believed he could push that medical technique past its normal limit and save his grandfather completely. That goal made the palace worth entering, even before counting the enormous amount of martial knowledge stored there. An upcoming imperial banquet gave him the perfect reason to appear at court without openly requesting suspicious access. For years, the original Lin Yuan had acted weak and avoided the palace. That happened because looking harmless seemed safer for the clan. Now he possessed enough power to survive exposure, enough knowledge to recognize traps, and enough purpose to stop hiding forever. Before leaving, Lin Yuan decided the banquet would serve two purposes: secure access to healing knowledge and measure every faction watching his family. He would not reveal more than necessary. But anyone forcing his hand would discover the useless heir no longer existed. Grandfather Lin was surprised when Lin Yuan accepted the palace invitation, without the usual excuses, complaints, or visible fear. The old war hero reminded him that the emperor was still his biological grandfather, despite every ugly rumor surrounding court politics. Lin Yuan listened without arguing. That happened because he had no intention of exposing suspicions he could not yet prove. His priority remained simple. Obtain the life mystic needle. Read as many royal manuals as possible. And return alive. When he entered the palace, the emperor greeted him with warmth that looked almost excessive compared with his treatment of ordinary princes. Servants and officials noticed the difference immediately as the ruler ignored protocol and personally pulled Lin Yuan into conversation. The emperor joked about marriage, admired how much he had grown, and acted like a grandfather recovering years of lost closeness. Lin Yuan answered respectfully while studying every word, expression, and shift in the old man's tone for hidden intent. The performance was convincing enough that even he could not tell which parts were affection and which belonged to imperial calculation. Before the main banquet began, the emperor insisted on drinking privately with him in the imperial garden. Their conversation eventually returned to the border war that had killed Lin Yuan's father and uncle years earlier. The emperor blamed failed intelligence and longed a surprise attack, presenting the deaths as tragedy rather than conspiracy. Lin Yuan accepted the explanation outwardly, but his recovered memories gave him no reason to trust the official version. The novel had never properly explained how. So many members of one military family disappeared under convenient circumstances. Until he found evidence, however, suspicion remained useless. So he kept his expression calm and followed the emperor to the banquet. The Golden Autumn gathering drew princes, nobles, academy students, officials, and talented young cultivators from across the capital. Among them was Washa Qingha, a gifted young woman whose future had been entangled with the original novel's protagonist. Lin Yuan recognized her immediately from his memories and remembered how the original story turned his generosity into another path toward ruin. Instead of chasing her attention, he gave her a brief measuring glance and returned his focus to the larger danger around him. That indifference annoyed Xia Qinghe more than open admiration would have. That happened because the rumored coward looked nothing like she expected. She saw a composed young noble beside the emperor, carrying himself with the stillness of someone far more dangerous than gossip suggested. Lin Yuan noticed her curiosity, but refused to let another future relationship distract him from the purpose of the night. The banquet began with music, wine, calligraphy, poetry, and political conversation, designed to make the empire look perfectly stable. Princes moved among talented students, officials traded polite compliments, and servants crossed the gardens carrying food and fresh wine. Then the first prince noticed something wrong with a palace maid moving near the emperor's table. The woman froze when challenged, and the harmless celebration changed instantly into a security crisis. Hidden killers revealed themselves from within the banquet staff. This turned the imperial gathering into an assassination attempt before hundreds of witnesses. Guards reacted, nobles scattered, and several attackers rushed the central platform. Meanwhile, concealed weapons flashed through the confusion. Lin Yuan could have remained hidden behind the imperial experts. But the attack forced him to decide whether his old mask still mattered. One assassin broke close enough to threaten the emperor. This left no room for Lin Yuan to keep pretending helplessness. He moved before most guests could follow, crossing the distance with a speed that shattered every rumor about his mediocre cultivation. The Eight Desolations Battle Art erupted through his strike, releasing force refined far beyond what anyone expected from an 18-year-old heir. The attacker was destroyed before completing the killing move, and the violent exchange ended almost as soon as it began. For a heartbeat, the entire garden became quiet enough for Lin Yuan to hear shocked breathing from the surrounding tables. Experienced cultivators recognized the family art and realized his execution exceeded levels even senior Lin veterans struggled to approach. The useless young master had just displayed peak postnatal power in front of the emperor, court officials, academy elite, and rival clans. Lin Yuan calmly cleaned his hand, apologized for acting slowly, and addressed the emperor with the same polite tone as before. That contrast made the revelation more unsettling. That happened because nothing in his expression suggested panic, excitement, or the need to prove himself. The emperor stared at him long enough for everyone nearby to feel the political meaning behind the silence. If Lin Yuan had possessed this power for years, then his weakness, and mediocre reputation could all have been deliberate camouflage. Officials immediately understood why a Lin heir might hide talent from a throne already nervous about grandfather Lin's military influence. Some saw a brilliant survivor protecting his family. Meanwhile, others saw proof that the Lin clan had concealed dangerous strength. The same attack that saved the emperor, therefore exposed Lin Yuan to every faction he had spent years avoiding. Xia Qinghe watched the aftermath with renewed confusion. That happened because the supposed coward had become the strongest young man present in one exchange. Lin Yuan did not seek her reaction, nor did he use the moment to humiliate anyone who had underestimated him. He cared far more about the attackers, their infiltration route, and the possibility that the banquet had been designed to test political loyalties. The palace quickly regained control. But the celebration could not return to its earlier atmosphere after so much blood and suspicion. The emperor eventually granted Lin Yuan access to the royal library. This gave him the opportunity he had come to obtain. Officially, the privilege rewarded his performance and family status. Privately, Lin Yuan treated it as a treasure vault of comprehension experience. He entered the first floor and began scanning manuals faster than any librarian could understand what he was actually doing. Hundreds of low-grade techniques passed through his hands, each contributing fragments of insight even when their individual value was small. Because many overlapped with knowledge from the Lin estate, the gains were slower than Lin Yuan hoped but still significant. He cleared the lower collection, then moved upward without stopping to practice a single technique in the conventional way. On the second floor, stronger manuals pushed talent progress much faster and broadened the systems already forming inside his mind. Body methods reinforced earlier refinements, weapon arts expanded his attack options, and internal methods showed new routes for circulating energy. By the time he reached the restricted upper floor, his comprehension had accumulated knowledge from nearly every major royal martial tradition. Two guardians checked his token and warned that the final manuals could be studied inside, but never removed from the library. Lin Yuan agreed, because he never needed to take a book anywhere once God-level comprehension had seen it. The central treasure was the life mystic needle, the medical technique he had wanted from the beginning. He opened the manual and immediately understood how each needle position influenced meridians, organs, flow, and damaged internal energy. Breakthrough insight then carried him beyond the method's established highest level and revealed a 10th needle the original art lacked. That extra level transformed the technique from exceptional medicine into something capable of controlling life and death with terrifying precision. The same knowledge that could repair blocked meridians also showed exactly where a skilled practitioner could cripple or kill an enemy. Lin Yuan stored the lesson without celebrating and moved directly to the other high-grade manuals waiting on the stone platforms. Each one became another source of complete mastery, another step toward talent evolution, and another tool for future conflicts. Some techniques strengthened spirit, others hardened the body. Meanwhile, several expanded his control over elemental or directional force. By combining their principles, Lin Yuan began seeing connections that the original creators of those separate arts had never intended. The Royal Library was not merely giving him more moves, it was giving his comprehension a larger language for understanding cultivation itself. Hours that should have represented years of study passed with Lin Yuan, moving from manual to manual at impossible speed. Eventually, his knowledge became so dense that another breakthrough started forming inside his cultivation, rather than only inside the talent. He had already condensed immense physical essence and powerful vital energy through the techniques absorbed from both libraries. What remained was the spiritual component required to cross the threshold, separating postnatal masters from the higher life realm. Ordinary cultivators advanced gradually, strengthening body, energy, and spirit until those three foundations could be united. Lin Yuan had cheated 2/3 of that process through accumulated techniques and now needed enough spiritual arts to complete the final part. The royal collection contained fewer mental methods than physical ones. This forced him to squeeze value from every rare spiritual manual available. Each new principle strengthened his perception, control, and ability to sense hidden movement around him. At one point, his comprehension triggered a terrifying pressure that briefly rolled through the palace like the presence of an ancient predator. Guards outside the library went pale. That happened because the aura appeared and vanished before they could identify its source. Lin Yuan suppressed the phenomenon immediately, unwilling to expose another level of strength before he understood his own new boundary. He realized that gathering more spiritual techniques could let him force the missing's transformation instead of waiting for slow natural progress. Even without reaching the higher realm, his current foundation already exceeded what most peak postnatal experts could imagine. Once he finished with the useful manuals, Lin Yuan left the library far earlier than palace officials expected. He had been granted days of access. Yet God-level comprehension made extended study pointless after the knowledge entered his mind. Outside the palace, watchers from multiple factions tracked his departure. This proved his banquet performance had already changed the capital's balance. Lin Yuan returned to the Lin estate before dawn, with the life mystic needle mastered beyond its original limit. His first concern was not rankings, gossip, or the political consequences of revealing his cultivation. He asked for a complete set of silver needles and went directly to the main hall where Grandfather Lin waited. The old war hero had already heard enough reports from the banquet to know his grandson had been hiding something enormous. Questions filled his expression, but Lin Yuan stopped them by explaining that he had found a method to treat the old injuries. Grandfather Lin had endured battlefield damage for decades, including toxins and internal wounds that even royal physicians considered irreversible. Those injuries were slowly draining his vitality, despite the cultivation that once made him the Empire's most feared commander. Lin Yuan examined the damaged meridians with his new medical understanding and confirmed the 10th needle could handle the problem. He placed the needles with absolute control, directing life energy through pathways scarred by years of accumulated damage. Dark contaminated blood began leaving the old man's body as hidden toxins were pulled from tissue and blocked channels. Its grandfather Lin turned pale during the cleansing. But his breathing grew steadier as the poison and stagnation disappeared. Lin Yuan then guided his own spiritual synergy through the repaired meridians, stabilizing every area the treatment had reopened. The procedure finished in minutes instead of the days or months the old man expected from conventional medicine. When grandfather Lin stood, the chronic pain that had followed him through years of retirement was suddenly gone. His blood moved with strength he had not felt since his prime. And the constant pressure inside his damaged body had vanished. He finally understood that Lin Yuan's talent was not limited to fighting. The boy had mastered medicine beyond century-old specialists as well. For the first time in years, grandfather Lin could imagine the family surviving without depending on his failing body. Lin Yuan, however, was already thinking about the next consequence. A healed war god would change the empire's political calculations immediately. Grandfather Lin's recovery was only the first use Lin Yuan planned for the perfected medical art. The family still had thousands of veterans whose careers had ended. That happened because old wounds destroyed their ability to cultivate or fight. Many had followed grandfather Lin through the empire's founding wars and remained loyal even after being forced into retirement. Lin Yuan proposed recalling those men, treating the injuries that could be repaired, and restoring the clan's dormant military foundation. Grandfather Lin understood the political weight immediately. That happened because healed veterans would become a private force packed with experienced cultivators. 2,000 recovered soldiers could turn a declining house into a military power every court faction had to reconsider. For years, grandfather Lin had deliberately reduced his public influence. So the throne would not view the family as an approaching rebellion. Lin Yuan's sudden rise now made that strategy impossible to maintain. That happened because hiding weakness no longer guaranteed safety. The old man asked whether his grandson understood what summoning. So many veterans would signal to the emperor and rival clans. Lin Yuan answered that he did, and his calmness convinced grandfather Lin the decision had been considered rather than made from excitement. After a long silence, the war hero promised support. Meanwhile, reminding Lin Yuan that the family must accept responsibility for every action it chose. Lin Yuan respected that boundary. That happened because he was not trying to drag the clan into pointless rebellion. He wanted enough strength to survive attacks already forming, investigate the suspicious deaths, and prevent the future massacre he remembered. Orders went out for food, lodging, and the return of old Lin soldiers scattered across the capital and surrounding territories. As servants moved, grandfather Lin's old fighting spirit returned with his health. And the estate began feeling like a military headquarters again. News traveled even faster than the messengers. That happened because the capital was already obsessed with Lin Yuan's banquet performance. Lists ranking the empire's strongest experts were revised once witnesses confirmed that the young heir had reached peak postnatal cultivation. Lin Yuan suddenly appeared near the top of the divine marshal list, displacing veterans who had built reputations over decades. At 18, his placement became more shocking than the exact rank. That happened because almost everyone above him belonged to an older generation. In taverns and noble houses, people argued whether the list had ranked him too low after seeing the quality of his family art. Some believed his one public strike showed only raw cultivation. Meanwhile, others thought his control proved he had concealed far more. The swordsman, pushed down by Lin Yuan's new ranking, heard the rumors and treated the change as a challenge to his own reputation. Elsewhere, officials studied the same news for political reasons instead of martial pride. A young peak expert would already be important. But Lin Yuan was also the only heir to a clan with enormous military loyalty. The emperor's ministers understood that his survival could preserve the Lin family for another generation rather than letting it disappear naturally. That possibility sharpened every old debate about grandfather Lin's power, the deaths of his sons, and the throne's fear of military influence. Inside the imperial court, Commander Wei openly attacked the Lin family's decision to recall its veterans. He argued that mobilizing private soldiers during peacetime looked less like household management and more like preparation for rebellion. Several officials rejected the accusation. That happened because the Lin family legally possessed rights granted during the empire's founding wars. They also knew that publicly condemning grandfather Lin without evidence could split the army and produce the crisis they claimed to fear. The emperor listened while different factions argued, refusing to reveal how much Lin Yuan's transformation had changed his own calculations. Commander Wei insisted that the young heir's years of hidden cultivation proved the family had deliberately deceived the throne. His opponents pointed out that a noble hiding personal strength was not the same thing as raising an illegal army. The court therefore became a battlefield of interpretation, with the same facts supporting either survival or treason, depending on who spoke. Back at the Lin estate, Lin Yuan ignored the debate and concentrated on strengthening the people who had actually bled for his family. The returning veterans arrived with damaged meridians, missing strength, pain, poisoned wounds, and injuries accumulated across countless campaigns. Many expected only a ceremonial reunion with their old commander and were stunned when the young heir personally examined them. Lin Yuan used the life mystic needle to separate treatable damage from injuries that required more time or specialized support. Because his comprehension had pushed the medical art beyond its normal limit, cases abandoned by famous physicians became manageable. Blocked energy channels reopened. Hidden toxins left old wounds who had not trained properly. In years felt strength returning. The treatments did more than add fighters. That happened because they restored hope to men who had already accepted permanent decline. The veterans responded with the loyalty soldiers, receiving a second life from the only surviving heir of their former commander. Grandfather Lin watched the process and understood that Lin Yuan was rebuilding authority through real results rather than inherited status. The clan's influence therefore grew from gratitude, restored capability, and shared history instead of empty intimidation. That distinction mattered to Lin Yuan. That happened because he wanted people who could act under pressure, not servants who panicked around his power. The estate soon filled with disciplined veterans eating, recovering, exchanging intelligence, and preparing to return to useful positions. Old contacts also brought rumors from the capital, including increased activity around the Northern Qin Academy and several suspicious political factions. Lin Yuan remembered the academy as an important location in the original story, though his memories of later events remained incomplete. He knew the future protagonist should eventually appear there and trigger a chain of conflicts connected to Shaqingha and the Lin family. That made every rumor from the academy worth watching, even before direct evidence of a threat appeared. Meanwhile, Lu Hanyin continued noticing the distance between herself and Lin Yuan after his awakening. She had grown accustomed to his attention and could not understand why his entire attitude changed after one mysterious collapse. At times, she approached him during training or recovery, trying to recreate the familiar relationship they once shared. Lin Yuan answered civilly but kept an instinctive guard. That happened because the novel had taught him how badly emotional trust could be exploited. His caution was not based on proof that she had betrayed him yet, only knowledge of a future he was determined to prevent. That distinction kept him from punishing her for events that had not happened. Meanwhile, still refusing to behave as the old Lin Yuan had. Lu Hanyin gradually realized his coldness was not a temporary game designed to make her chase him. She saw the same alertness in his eyes that he showed around the emperor, rival officials, and other uncertain threats. That realization hurt more than simple rejection. That happened because it meant Lin Yuan now placed her among people he could not fully trust. He did not explain the recovered memories. That happened because revealing the novelette itself would create more problems than it solved. Instead, he returned to meditation and martial integration, whenever personal tension threatened to distract him from the larger crisis. Every technique collected from the two libraries continued interacting inside his comprehension, producing refinements even after the initial mastery. Lin Yuan experimented with combining body art, movement methods, spiritual control, and elemental principles without exposing the results publicly. His goal was no longer to collect flashy techniques, but to build responses for poison, assassination, siege pursuit, and high-level duels. The more complete his foundation became, the less he feared the protagonist's supposed luck or the political enemies surrounding his clan. Still, confidence did not become carelessness. That happened because the original novel had already shown how irrationally danger could appear. An imperial messenger eventually arrived at the Lin estate, carrying a decree that pulled Lin Yuan directly into the academy problem. The emperor appointed him as a chief inspector and ordered him to investigate instability inside the Northern Qin Academy. The assignment immediately looked suspicious. That happened because the academy contained respected elders, powerful teachers, and complicated political loyalties. Sending the newly revealed Lin heir there could expose corruption, provoke enemies, or create a confrontation convenient for the throne. Lin Yuan accepted the decree anyway. That happened because refusing would sacrifice the best opportunity to inspect a place tied to the original plot. The academy also possessed another major library. This made the dangerous appointment valuable to his comprehension regardless of imperial motives. Before leaving, he considered whether the emperor expected him to clean the institution or collide with someone powerful enough to weaken both sides. Either possibility meant he should enter prepared for betrayal rather than treating the position like ceremonial oversight. His growing reputation ensured the appointment spread across the capital before he even reached the academy gates. Students argued about the young inspector, who had risen from rumored mediocrity to one of the EMPA highest-ranked experts almost overnight. Some admired him, others resented the political appointment, and many simply wanted to see whether the banquet stories had been exaggerated. Lin Yuan had no interest in winning their approval. That happened because his real objectives were information, hidden enemies, and useful cultivation knowledge. Before the inspection formally began, an unexpected visitor reached him with evidence that the danger was already personal. Yisha, an assassin connected to a professional organization, revealed that someone had offered an enormous payment to have Lin Yuan killed. Instead of taking the contract, Yisha had decided the target was too dangerous, and the employer too reckless to justify a genuine attempt. He chose to keep the payment. Meanwhile, trading information to Lin Yuan for goodwill, turning an assassination contract into an intelligence sale. Lin Yuan found the situation almost disappointing. That happened because part of him had wanted a serious opponent to test his rapidly growing martial foundation. Yisha produced a vial containing a dark poison supplied by the mysterious employer for use during the planned assassination. The substance was supposedly lethal after entering the blood of even a high-level postnatal expert. Lin Yuan examined it carefully, treating the poison as evidence rather than assuming the assassin's story was completely trustworthy. Yisha could not provide the employer's identity. That happened because the buyer had concealed his face, voice, and background during contact. He could, however, identify the direction the man used. Meanwhile, leaving, and that route pointed toward the Northern Qin Academy. That clue transformed Lin Yuan's imperial assignment from political inconvenience into a direct investigation of someone trying to kill him. He stored the poison and thanked Yisha for the information, without giving away how useful the lead had become. The assassin left with his life, his payment, and a new understanding that attacking the Lin heir directly would be a terrible business decision. Lin Yuan then headed for the academy, carrying both imperial authority and physical evidence linked to a hidden conspirator inside its walls. By the time he reached the gates, he was no longer wondering whether corruption existed there. The real question was how high the rot climbed, and how many people would expose themselves once he started pulling at it. The Northern Qin Academy had trained officials, commander, scholars, and cultivators for generations. This made its reputation almost inseparable from the empire itself. That prestige was exactly why Lin Yuan considered internal treason more dangerous there than in any ordinary noble household. Teachers gathered to receive the imperial inspector, outwardly respectful. Meanwhile, privately measuring the 18-year-old whose strength now dominated every conversation. Lin Yuan entered without wasting time on ceremony and made it clear that his investigation would not be limited by academic seniority. Zhang Tong, one of the academy's most respected founding figures, appeared calm and dignified enough to make suspicion seem almost insulting. Other department heads also carried decades of service. That meant any accusation against them needed more than Lin Yuan's personal authority. He began by asking direct questions about security, recent movement, outside CACs, and people who had left the grounds during suspicious hours. Most answers sounded rehearsed but not necessarily dishonest. This forced him to rely on physical reactions instead of empty denials. Then Lin Yuan removed the poison vial Yisha had given him and held it where every teacher could see. Several people showed confusion, but one middle-aged instructor at the back reacted before his expression could hide it. His heartbeat accelerated so sharply that Lin Yuan's refined senses picked it out from the entire room. The man tried to blame the change on natural nerves. Yet the timing made that excuse useless. Lin Yuan identified him as Teacher Zeng and demanded an explanation for recognizing poison connected to an assassination contract. Zeng denied everything, insisting he had remained inside the academy and had no reason to attack the Lin family. Several colleagues defended him instinctively. That happened because accusing a long-serving teacher of treason threatened the reputation of everyone present. Lin Yuan ignored their protests and used overwhelming force to prevent Zeng from escaping or destroying evidence. The captured teacher quickly discovered that Lin Yuan's reputation understated the cruelty of techniques he could apply without killing immediately. Fire-based energy attacked the outside of Zeng's body. Meanwhile, freezing force invaded from within, creating pain impossible to ignore. Lin Yuan kept the pressure controlled. That happened because the objective was information, not an execution performed before the interrogation started. The watching teachers went silent as Zeng's resistance collapsed under a combination of heat, cold, and precise energy control. Finally he broke and tried to reveal the faction behind him, managing only a reference connected to the wolf capital. Before he could explain further, a hidden restriction inside his soul activated in response to the betrayal. His body convulsed, his eyes changed. And the seal killed him before Lin Yuan could suppress the reaction. The sudden death proved someone powerful and prepared internal agents to remain silent even after capture. Lin Yuan examined the result and concluded the restriction was not his own doing, despite the terrified faculty watching him. Teacher Zeng had become the first confirmed traitor. But the suicide seal showed he was almost certainly not the highest person involved. Jiang Tong ordered the corpse removed and hurried after Lin Yuan as the inspection moved deeper into the academy. Students learned about the death almost immediately, transforming rumors about the new inspector into fear mixed with admiration. They heard that Lin Yuan had identified a hidden agent from one heartbeat and forced a confession from a respected teacher. Exaggerated versions spread through classrooms until some students spoke about his senses as if he could see guilt directly through skin. Lin Yuan did nothing to correct the stories. That happened because fear could make the remaining conspirators reveal patterns they would otherwise hide. Xia Qingha was among the students hearing those rumors. And the news made her think again about the man she had dismissed at the banquet. Another student teased her for repeatedly staring at the same page. Meanwhile, her attention remained fixed on the disturbance outside. Xiaqing denied caring about Lin Yuan personally, but she could no longer treat the academy investigation like distant court politics. A confirmed infiltrator meant the threat had reached people she saw every day. This turned institutional pride into personal danger. While the students reacted, another complication arrived outside the academy, in the form of a famous swordsman seeking Lin Yuan. The profound heavy sword king had been pushed down the divine martial list when Lin Yuan entered the rankings above him. He carried a massive iron blade and wanted a formal duel to recover the position he believed still belonged to him. The guards at the Lin estate told him the young master had already left to investigate the academy. Rather than abandon the challenge, the swordsman redirected himself toward the same location and followed the growing public spectacle. Lin Yuan remained unaware of the challenger for the moment. That happened because the investigation was producing more important problems inside. He questioned teachers about suspicious students, unauthorized rooms, restricted records, and unexplained communication with factions beyond the capital. Each answer narrowed possibilities, but also showed how easily a determined insider could exploit the academy's size and traditions. Lin Yuan became increasingly convinced that Zeng needed protection from someone holding authority above an ordinary instructor. That meant either a department leader, a dean, or one of the academy's founding figures had allowed the network to survive. He gathered senior staff and students where their reactions could be observed together, rather than letting everyone retreat into private rooms. The atmosphere grew hostile, as people realized the inspector was effectively declaring that the academy's leadership contained a traitor. Several teachers argued such infiltration was impossible without outside fabrication. That happened because their institution had served Northern Qin since its founding. Lin Yuan answered that Teacher Zeng's corpse already proved loyalty certificates. And old reputations could not replace evidence. His calm refusal to back down made Jiang Tong increasingly serious, despite the polite expression he maintained. Then a young woman in pink stepped forward with a theory that redirected the entire investigation toward the Academy's most respected elder. She argued that everyone had been searching too low. That happened because a hidden network surviving for years required protection from the top. Most department heads had changed over time. But Jiang Tong had remained close to the Academy's core from the beginning. The girl described repeated trips, unusual meetings, and patterns that seemed harmless until viewed under the assumption he was exchanging intelligence. Students reacted angrily because Jiang Tong was not merely a teacher. Many considered him a moral symbol of Northern Qin scholarship. Jiang Tong did not lose his composure, and without direct proof her argument could still be dismissed as clever speculation. Lin Yuan watched rather than interrupting. That happened because her confidence suggested she had prepared something stronger than suspicion. She finally told everyone to examine a specific place on the third floor of Jiang Tong's private library. The location was precise. A particular shelf, row, and book hiding something she believed he could never explain away. Jiang Tong's expression changed for the first time. And that tiny break mattered more to Lin Yuan than any speech. Instead of denying the location's significance, the old scholar asked how she had bypassed the restrictions, protecting his private collection. That question served as an admission before hundreds of people. That happened because an innocent man would not worry about how hidden evidence had been found. The Academy erupted as students demanded explanations from someone they had trusted since childhood. Department leaders stared at Jiang Tong as if decades of institutional history had suddenly become uncertain. The girl in pink remained almost playful, refusing to reveal how she had crossed restrictions Jiang Tong considered secure. Jiang Tong sighed and admitted that people could always encounter someone whose methods exceeded their own. Then he turned away from the students and addressed Lin Yuan directly, treating him as the only person whose decision now mattered. He argued that both of them stood near the peak of the postnatal realm, and that a battle would weaken Northern Qin unnecessarily. According to him, the imperial family would be the real winner if two powerful figures damaged each other while fighting over politics. He also pointed toward the Lin family's strained relationship with the throne, suggesting they shared reasons to distrust imperial authority. Jiang Tong offered a practical arrangement. Lin Yuan could ignore the evidence, and neither side needed to become enemies. Lin Yuan acknowledged the logic without accepting the conclusion. That happened because the investigation was no longer only about the emperor's interests. Someone connected to this network had paid to poison him, meaning Jiang Tong's organization had already turned the matter personal. More importantly, Lin Yuan had no intention of letting a hidden faction use the Academy to attack his family from inside the capital. He snapped his fan closed and rejected the proposal. This forced Jiang Tong to choose between surrender and open resistance. The respected scholar's righteous demeanor faded once negotiation failed. This revealed the cold confidence of a veteran cultivator who had hidden for decades. Students backed away as pressure spread through the courtyard. And the space around Jiang Tong began responding to his cultivated intent. Lin Yuan did not retreat. That happened because this confrontation offered the strongest real test his rapidly assembled martial foundation had faced. Jiang Tong warned him that youth and talent were not substitutes for the combat experience created through a lifetime of danger. Lin Yuan answered by allowing the older man the first attack, confident enough to promise he would receive several moves before responding seriously. The offer infuriated Jiang Tong. That happened because it transformed a deadly confrontation into a public judgment of his worth. His first strike manifested spiritual force like a massive sage phantom, shifting between beast, dragon, and army imagery. The attack carried enough pressure to terrify the surrounding students. Yet Lin Yuan met it with a casual movement of his fan. His control dispersed the incoming force before it could touch him. This left the courtyard intact and Jiang Tong visibly angrier. Lin Yuan reminded him that wasting one of the promised attacks on a probe would not help when only a few chances remained. Jiang Tong abandoned restraint and used a far more sophisticated technique built from scholarly intent and spiritual suppression. A drop of black ink expanded through the air until mountains, rivers, thunder, and written laws seemed to surround the battlefield. The illusion carried real crushing force, pressing weaker observers toward the ground. Meanwhile, also attacking their confidence and sense of righteousness. Students began feeling as though opposing Jiang Tong itself was morally wrong, showing the technique could manipulate will as well as body. Jiang Tong merged with the painted landscape and brought its accumulated pressure down toward Lin Yuan in one overwhelming assault. Instead of fear, Lin Yuan finally felt excitement. That happened because the older man's second serious move was worthy of testing his evolved body art. Deep purple flame appeared across Lin Yuan's body, followed by threads of lightning woven through the fire. He activated the small thunderflame body, a technique he had learned and pushed beyond its original ceiling through breakthrough insight. The evolved art converted his refined physical foundation into a violent combination of heat, speed, and defensive strength. When Lin Yuan released it, purple thunder tore through the painted mountains and destroyed the spiritual landscape Jiang Tong had created. The Academy watched its founding elder's signature suppression collapse against an art Lin Yuan had mastered only after reading stored manuals. Jiang Tong now understood that the young man across from him was not simply a peak cultivator with one powerful family technique. He was fighting someone whose movement, body, attacks, medicine, and spiritual control had all been refined to terrifying levels. That realization removed any hope that ordinary experience alone could compensate for the gap created by God-level comprehension. Jiang Tong tried to gather himself after the shattered landscape, but his injuries were already severe from Lin Yuan's thunderflame counterattack. Blood covered his robes, his breathing broke rhythm, and the righteous scholar who had dominated the academy looked suddenly ancient. Students stared between the wounded elder and Lin Yuan, unable to reconcile decades of reputation with the violence they had just witnessed. Lin Yuan was briefly surprised as well. That happened because the attack he used had not even been one of his strongest formal techniques. That realization clarified the true scale of his accumulated mastery. Hundreds of evolved arts had changed his baseline power completely. Jiang Tong was not weak by Northern Qin standards. Lin Yuan had simply moved beyond what those standards could measure. The duel therefore stopped feeling like a test and became proof that no ordinary postnatal expert could currently match him. Lin Yuan approached the fallen elder, meanwhile gathering the Eight Desolations Battle Art into his palm for the finishing strike. Jiang Tong recognized something in that pressure and realized Lin Yuan had already reached the edge of the higher realm. He tried to speak, but Lin Yuan refused to turn the execution into another round of explanations or bargaining. The final technique crushed Jiang Tong inside a violent vortex of force, ending the life of a peak expert before the academy could intervene. His death erased decades of status in moments and left the students with the uncomfortable truth that strength could overturn institutions instantly. The civil and martial department heads recovered first, bowing to Lin Yuan and publicly thanking him for eliminating the confirmed infiltrator. Lin Yuan redirected their praise toward the girl in pink, whose evidence had forced Jiang Tong to reveal himself. He asked her name because she represented a variable absent from the version of the story stored in his recovered memories. She introduced herself as Wu Wang, claiming she had only acted. That happened because she wanted the academy to remain peaceful. Lin Yuan complimented her ability to expose someone far above her cultivation. Meanwhile, Wang immediately tried to minimize her involvement. Her discomfort made him curious. But he still turned back toward the practical work left by Jiang Tong's death. Then the name finally connected with a memory Lin Yuan had been too busy fighting to notice. The original novel's future protagonist carried the same name. Yet that character was supposed to be male. Lin Yuan looked at Wang again and found no ambiguity at all. The person standing before him was clearly a young woman. He quietly questioned the department heads about whether another student with the same name existed anywhere inside the academy. They confirmed there was only one, a fifth-year student whose identity matched the person standing a few steps away. That answer cracked one of Lin Yuan's most important assumptions about the future. That happened because the protagonist he remembered no longer existed as written. He had spent days preparing for a male hero protected by impossible luck, escalating opportunities, and a storyline hostile to the Lin family. Instead, the supposed future ruler had appeared as Wang, a cautious girl who seemed more interested in avoiding trouble than creating it. The change proved recovered memories could not be treated like perfect prophecy anymore, even if many major events still remained recognizable. Lin Yuan kept the discovery to himself and told the nervous department heads that the name merely reminded him of an old acquaintance. They clearly did not believe the excuse. But nobody wanted to challenge a man who had just erased Jiang Tong. Outside the academy, the profound Heavy Sword King finally witnessed enough of the aftermath to abandon his planned ranking duel. He understood that Jiang Tong had hoped to use challengers and outside pressure to wear Lin Yuan down before their own confrontation. That strategy had failed because Lin Yuan uncovered the traitor early and defeated him without suffering meaningful damage. The swordsman decided reclaiming one ranking position was not worth dying to a young monster who had overwhelmed a veteran above him. He quietly left the capital's newest spectacle and returned toward the mountains without requesting the duel he had come to demand. Inside, Lin Yuan ordered the academy sealed, so possible sleeper agent could not disappear while the investigation remained active. He also sent word for Imperial security forces to assist with cleanup records, bodies, and anyone attempting to flee. The department heads warned that Jiang Tong probably maintained a wider network. This made his private collection the next logical place to search. Lin Yuan turned to Wang. That happened because she alone knew the exact hidden location that had broken Jiang Tong's composure. She tried to distance herself, claiming the discovery came from luck rather than any special investigative ability. Her evasiveness made Lin Yuan more certain she carried secrets. But forcing them out now offered less value than following the evidence. Wang reluctantly agreed to lead him toward Jiang Tong's private library after insisting Xia Qinghe accompany them. Lin Yuan accepted because the third person changed nothing about the investigation. And Xia Qinghe knew the academy's history well. The three entered the restricted collection. Meanwhile, guards maintained the lockdown outside. Jiang Tong's library contained rare manuals, specialized writings, and restrictions far beyond what most ordinary teachers could access. Lin Yuan naturally read useful techniques. Meanwhile, moving through the room, allowing God-level comprehension to absorb knowledge without slowing the search. Wang guided them to the shelf she had identified earlier and manipulated a particular book in a sequence that triggered a hidden mechanism. A concealed compartment opened beneath the shelves. This revealed a metal box that Jiang Tong had protected behind layers of secrecy. Lin Yuan found multiple jade vials inside, each containing material identical to the poison Yisha had delivered from the assassination employer. That physical match connected Jiang Tong directly to the attempt on Lin Yuan even, without any surviving confession. Beneath the vials rested an ancient manual titled Introductory Understanding of Restrictions, knowledge clearly originating beyond the secular martial world. Lin Yuan opened the book and immediately felt his divine comprehension respond more strongly than it did to ordinary human tier techniques. Restrictions belonged to a higher system of cultivation, meaning even an introductory text expanded his understanding in entirely new directions. God-level comprehension quickly mastered the fundamentals. This turned Jiang Tong's secret inheritance into another weapon against the organization behind him. Xia Qinghe noticed blood-red writing hidden inside the volume and read a declaration left by a man named Pongyong. The message cursed the ruling Leaf family, invoked the fallen Wan dynasty, and promised that loyalists would eventually reclaim what had been lost. Historical records identified Pongyong as a prince of the former dynasty who escaped the old capital after the regime collapsed. He fled toward Longdu, gathered surviving loyalists, and helped establish the rival power that continued opposing Northern Qin. Public history claimed Pongyong later died, allowing his son to inherit leadership of Longdu. The secret writings showed otherwise. Pongyong had survived and entered an immortal sect instead of disappearing from the world. If he had trained there for decades, then Longdu's recent confidence suddenly had a much more dangerous explanation. Xia Qinghe worried that Pongyong might already have crossed into the legendary higher realm ordinary armies could never challenge directly. Lin Yuan remained outwardly calm. That happened because panic would not answer whether the man had truly reached that level. Wang offered a colder analysis, saying a fully ascended Pongyong might actually end the political conflict quickly through overwhelming dominance. Her greater concern was a half-completed breakthrough, strong enough to prolong war without being strong enough to settle it decisively. The comment revealed a pragmatic side of Wang that ignored imperial loyalty and focused on the cost ordinary people would pay. Lin Yuan did not defend the royal family. That happened because his own loyalties centered on the Lin clan, rather than the emperor's pride. He returned to the restrictions manual and found a method involving poison, hidden control, and an insidious technique called the demon heart restriction. The method suggested the jade powder was not simply a lethal substance designed to kill its victim. Under the restriction's energy, tiny dormant objects inside the powder reacted. This revealed themselves as parasite eggs, rather than ordinary poison. That discovery changed the entire assassination story. That happened because infecting Lin Yuan could be more valuable than murdering him. A controlled Lin heir could provide access to grandfather Lin veteran soldiers' military secrets, and the political heart of the clan. Lin Yuan also understood why Teacher Zheng had died instantly after speaking. Similar restriction principles could enforce obedience through the body or soul. Xia Qinghe translated additional notes describing how immortal methods helped Longdu loyalists hide parasites inside seemingly harmless medicines and powders. The creatures could enter silently, remain dormant, and avoid detection even from extremely powerful postnatal experts. Activated. They could weaken. Or control important people from within, instead of attacking a fortified state openly. The strategy was far more dangerous than a conventional invasion. That happened because an army could not defend against leaders already compromised. Xia Qinghe realized the academy might have been spreading infection for years through students, teachers, and social connections. Her concern became immediate when Lin Yuan asked to examine her, rather than debating how widespread the problem might be. She allowed him to check her pulse. Meanwhile, his refined energy moved through meridians searching for anything that did not belong. At first the scan found only a tiny murky shadow hidden. So carefully that ordinary energy could not provoke a reaction. Lin Yuan switched to the principles he had just learned from the demon heart restriction and attacked the hidden presence directly. The shadow unfolded into a living parasite that began draining Xia Qinghe's vitality as soon as it realized it had been discovered. Pain crossed her face, but Lin Yuan controlled the creature before it could spread damage or retreat deeper into her body. He forced it through her meridians toward the wrist, then pulled the black insect outside where everyone could see it. Xia Qinghe stared at the creature in horror. That happened because she had never felt it enter or live inside her. Without Lin Yuan's new restriction knowledge, she could have carried the parasite indefinitely while believing herself completely healthy. He destroyed the insect and immediately recognized that one infected student meant the academy problem was far larger than Zhang Tong alone. Wang refused an examination, claiming she'd been cautious around Zhang Tong and did not need Lin Yuan touching her. Her reaction amused him slightly. But he had no evidence that forcing the issue would help the investigation. The confirmed parasite was enough to justify treating the entire academy population as potentially compromised until proven otherwise. Lin Yuan ordered stricter movement control and began thinking beyond the institution to every family connected through its students. Elite academy members came from military clans, bureaucratic houses, merchants, and royal branches spread throughout the capital. If infected students returned home regularly, Longdu's invisible network could already extend through every important neighborhood. The poison found in Zhang Tong's room therefore represented a citywide security threat, not merely evidence in one assassination case. Lin Yuan understood he needed to test people tied directly to his own family before making assumptions about anyone else's safety. Before leaving, he searched the private collection for additional notes, methods, and cultivation texts that could help identify or remove the parasites. God-level comprehension turned every useful page into permanent understanding, converting the enemy's secret tools into defenses against the same plan. That ability once again proved more valuable than raw strength. That happened because one captured manual could neutralize years of hidden preparation. Lin Yuan left Zhang Tong's library with the poison, restriction knowledge, and a much clearer picture of the organization facing northern Qin. The investigation that began with one assassination contract had uncovered an Immortal-linked infiltration campaign aimed at an entire empire. Before Lin Yuan could leave the academy, Imperial security officers from the Jingxi Bureau arrived to assist with the purge. Their presence should have simplified the investigation. But several officers belonged to the Wei family, a clan hostile toward the Lins. Assistant Minister Wei Jinghai entered with the confidence of someone accustomed to using court authority against weaker opponents. He treated Lin Yuan's guards with contempt and began insulting the Lin family instead of focusing on the confirmed infiltration crisis. The guards endured the provocation at first. That happened because striking an imperial official could easily be twisted into evidence of rebellion. Wei Jinghai mistook that restraint for weakness and pushed harder, convinced the old political balance still protected his arrogance. Then a sharp slap interrupted him before his next insult could finish. One Lin guard had moved under Lin Yuan's authority, landing the blow so cleanly that Wei Jinghai stood frozen in disbelief. Rage erased his caution, and he gathered enough energy to attack the guards, despite the difference between personal pride and official business. Lin Yuan stopped the escalation by asking whether Wei Jinghai objected to the punishment carried out in his presence. The coldness in his voice finally reminded the official that the young master before him had just killed Zhang Tong. Wei Jinghai turned, but Lin Yuan struck again before he could rebuild the confidence he had brought through the gates. The second blow launched the assistant minister across the courtyard and buried him into shattered stone. Jinxie Bureau officers immediately recalculated the situation. That happened because their political backing meant nothing if Lin Yuan refused to fear it. Most bowed and recognized him as the chief authority on the current imperial investigation. A smaller group from the Wei family protested, insisting that rank did not allow Lin Yuan to humiliate an older official. He answered through action rather than debate, crossing the space with speed that left overlapping afterimages behind him. The loudest objector was forced to his knees under a crushing palm. This proved that family status could not protect him from overwhelming cultivation. Lin Yuan demanded to know whether his authority was understood now. This gave the remaining officers one final chance to stop obstructing the investigation. Several hesitated because years of clan arrogance had taught them that the Lin family could be pushed without serious consequences. That hesitation became fatal for the most defiant men. Meanwhile, the rest immediately abandoned their challenge and lowered their heads. Surviving officers finally stated the obvious truth. Lin Yuan was their superior during the operation and possessed power they could not contest. Wei Jinghai crawled from the crater still trying to invoke his family, the emperor, and the consequences of humiliating imperial officials. Lin Yuan responded by asking one Jinxie officer to explain the law governing subordinates who interfered with urgent official business. The terrified man admitted that serious obstruction could authorize a superior to execute first and report afterward. That answer stripped Wei Jinghai's argument of legal protection. That happened because Lin Yuan had summoned the Bureau for a confirmed national security crisis. Rather than execute him, Lin Yuan chose a punishment designed to destroy the political arrogance behind the confrontation. He sealed Wei Jinghai's cultivation so the official could no longer rely on force. Meanwhile, pretending the dispute was merely administrative. Then he damaged the man's knees and forced him into a kneeling position before a wall marked with the Lin family name. Wei Jinghai understood the symbolism immediately. That happened because his clan had spent years treating the declining Lins as easy targets. Now he was the one left powerless before their mark. Meanwhile, students, officials, soldiers and academy teachers watched. He demanded death rather than prolonged humiliation. But Lin Yuan refused to give him the cleaner ending. The remaining Jinxie officers were ordered to continue the investigation and handle academy security instead of turning the purge into a clan feud. They obeyed with an urgency completely absent when they first entered. This proved the command structure had finally become clear. Lin Yuan instructed his guards that Wei Jing was to remain kneeling for 10 days, unless he personally changed the order. He even allowed the Wei family to attempt a rescue, knowing such interference would expose exactly how far they were willing to challenge imperial law. As Lin Yuan walked away from the academy, his brief satisfaction disappeared. That happened because the parasite evidence mattered far more than defeated officials. His guards noticed the change and asked why his mood had become serious after such an overwhelming victory. Lin Yuan explained that several Wei family men involved in the confrontation also appeared to carry signs consistent with hidden infection. That detail meant the parasites were not restricted to the academy's teachers or students. The Wei clan maintained military and government connections outside the institution, expanding the possible infection network through entirely different channels. If people with limited academy exposure were compromised, then the capital itself could already be saturated with invisible carriers. Lin Yuan ordered an immediate return to the estate before celebrating, reporting, or investigating secondary political enemies. The Lin veterans had already gathered there in large numbers. This made a possible outbreak inside the family especially dangerous. His guards admitted they had not understood the severity earlier. But Lin Yuan refused to waste time blaming them for missing immortal methods. No ordinary security system was designed to detect parasites hidden through knowledge that secular cultivators barely knew existed. The important advantage was that Lin Yuan now understood the restriction well enough to search for it directly. He reached the estate and passed rows of returning veterans who greeted him with renewed loyalty after hearing about the medical treatments. Instead of stopping to address them, he went directly to Grandfather Lin and reported everything discovered inside the academy. Jiang Tong's identity, Pongyong's survival, the restriction manual, the parasite egg, and Xia Qingha's infection were explained in sequence. Grandfather Lin's expression darkened because an invisible method that could compromise officials made conventional military defenses almost useless. Lin Yuan asked to examine him first, since the family patriarch would be the most valuable target for any enemy infiltration plan. He circulated spiritual energy through Grandfather Lin's body and added restriction principles learned only hours earlier. The first scan found nothing. So he repeated the process instead of trusting a convenient result. Even after deeper inspection, Grandfather Lin remained completely free of the hidden parasite. That outcome surprised Lin Yuan. That happened because the old man's injuries and declining vitality should have made infection easier rather than harder. He considered whether cultivation level alone offered resistance. But the theory needed another person with a different physical condition. Old Mo, Grandfather Lin's loyal companion and longtime veteran, volunteered for the examination without hesitation. Lin Yuan searched his meridians and found a dark presence concealed. So effectively that ordinary sensing could have missed it forever. Old Mo read the answer in Lin Yuan's expression before anyone said a word. His infection proved a powerful veteran, close to the peak of ordinary cultivation, could carry the parasite without recognizing any symptom. Grandfather Lin and Old Mo became far more concerned. That happened because they spent most days together and shared many of the same environments. Logic suggested the weakened grandfather should have been infected before his healthier companion, yet the opposite had happened. Lin Yuan postponed the mystery and focused on removal. That happened because Old Mo was still a living carrier inside the family estate. The demon heart restriction forced the parasite to reveal itself, allowing Lin Yuan to pull it from hiding without damaging the veteran's meridians. Purple lightning destroyed the creature once it left the body. This left only a charred remnant on the table. Old Mo stared at the tiny corpse and struggled to accept that something so small had lived inside him unnoticed. His embarrassment turned toward anger. And he wanted to place the estate under immediate martial law. Lin Yuan stopped him because locking gates would not explain how the parasite entered or whether contaminated supplies remained inside. He placed Jiang Tong's poison sample on the table and asked Old Mo whether anything about the powder seemed familiar. Old Mo examined its texture and scent carefully, then reacted with the shock of someone recognizing a substance from an unexpected source. He insisted on tasting a trace to confirm the memory, trusting Lin Yuan to remove another parasite if necessary. Grandfather Lin objected, but the test produced the answer they needed. The powder-matched material connected to a heart-nurturing flower and Yuan-purifying pills recently delivered from the royal palace. Those medicines had arrived while Lin Yuan was unconscious after recovering his past life memories. The emperor had supposedly sent the pills to help wake his grandson, and the flower to support Grandfather Lin's failing health. Old Mo had personally handled and tested both gifts. Yet ordinary poison checks had revealed nothing suspicious. The implication struck the room immediately. That happened because contamination now led directly toward items distributed through palace channels. Lin Yuan checked himself again and found no parasite despite having been exposed to the medicine during his unconscious period. Grandfather Lin remained clean as well, leaving Old Mo as the only infected person among the three who shared overlapping exposure. That pattern prevented Lin Yuan from accusing the emperor directly. That happened because the evidence did not reveal who altered the gifts or when. It did explain why Jiang Tong later arranged another assassination attempt against Lin Yuan. Publicly, Lin Yuan had always been suspicious of palace gifts. So conspirators could not know whether the young heir actually consumed the medicine. Sending Yisha with parasite-laced poison created a second opportunity to infect him if the first delivery had failed. The supposed assassination was therefore insurance, rather than a completely separate plot. Lin Yuan briefly considered whether the Lin bloodline possessed natural resistance. But grandfather Lin denied any ancestral history supporting that theory. Previous generations had suffered ordinary poison wounds, and nothing in the clan records described immunity to hidden creatures. For now, Lin Yuan treated his own and his grandfather's safety as an unexplained advantage, rather than inventing a convenient answer. He ordered broader testing of family members, food channels, and recent gifts while preserving samples for comparison. Old Mo agreed to coordinate the work under secrecy, so panic would not spread faster than the investigation. Grandfather Lin then shifted the discussion toward Pongyong and whether an immortal sect disciple could truly threaten the entire empire. He doubted Pongyong had completed the HEIR transformation. That happened because a genuine ascendant would not need years of hidden parasites and political infiltration. Someone capable of crushing secular armies alone could simply return openly, rather than depending on microscopic control methods. Even so, Longdu's growing boldness suggested Pongyong had gained enough outside backing to believe the old balance was ending. The academy infiltration, sabotaged medicine, banquet attack, and intensified provocations all pointed toward preparations for his eventual return. Lin Yuan suspected the emperor already knew pieces of this threat and had used the academy appointment to make dangerous factions collide. Grandfather Lin could not dismiss that possibility. That happened because imperial survival often rewarded outcomes more than loyalty between old comrades. Once old Mo left to organize testing, the war hero kept Lin Yuan behind and said the conversation now concerned his future beyond northern Qin. Grandfather Lin explained that the immortal sects were not legends invented by frightened secular cultivators. They were real powers operating above kingdoms, armies, and ordinary martial hierarchies. People in northern Qin rarely encountered them. That happened because the empire sat far below their usual concerns. Lin Yuan's sudden talent changed that separation. That happened because his future no longer belonged inside one court. Grandfather Lin said bluntly that northern Qin had become shallow water for a growing dragon. Even the empire's strongest experts could not provide the knowledge Lin Yuan now needed. His next step required entering the world where higher cultivation methods were normal rather than mythical. Lin Yuan already understood the logic, but access to those sects seemed almost impossible. Hidden Sword Mountain was the nearest major immortal organization known to northern Qin. It recruited openly only once every 50 years, creating decades between ordinary opportunities. The previous recruitment had occurred 30 years earlier, leaving another 20-year wait. For Lin Yuan, 20 years was absurd after God-level comprehension had transformed him within days. There was a faster route, but it demanded resources on an imperial scale. Secular kingdoms could gather rare treasures and offer tribute for a direct sect recommendation. That shortcut cost so much that even rich dynasties needed years of saving. The Lin family possessed wealth, mines, land, and military influence, but not enough for that price. Requesting royal sponsorship equally unrealistic, given the political tension surrounding the clan. Lin Yuan did not carry the ruling Leaf surname, despite his maternal connection to the emperor. If a sect seat became available, the palace would likely favor a royal prince first. The recent unrest also meant the imperial treasury probably had little room for extravagant tribute. Lin Yuan considered other sect names he had heard through scattered histories and traveler accounts. None seemed accessible quickly enough to match the pace of his current cultivation. Grandfather Lin listened, then shook his head. That happened because he had not raised the subject randomly. He stood and led Lin Yuan into the most private section of his residence. The old man activated a concealed mechanism near the bed and opened a hidden compartment. From inside, he removed a heavy box forged from dark, profound metal. Thick chains wrapped the container, showing it protected something more valuable than family manuals. Lin Yuan had never seen even the Eight Desolations Battle Art guarded so carefully. Its grandfather Lin placed the box before him and told him to open it. After removing the chains, Lin Yuan lifted the lid and found a small green jade piece. The jade rested on silk and released faint spiritual mist into the quiet room. That mist moved like tiny dragons and sharpened Lin Yuan's mind merely through proximity. A single ancient character had been carved into its center, Immortal. Even before hearing an explanation, Lin Yuan knew the object did not belong to secular cultivation. Grandfather Lin called it an immortal fate decree and finally revealed its purpose. The holder could travel to Tao Tribulation Mountain for trials connected to 9 great sects. Those trials normally determined who possessed the talent, will and fortune to enter their inheritances. The decree changed the rules. That happened because its owner received an extraordinary guarantee. Regardless of trial performance, the holder could choose one of the 9 sects afterward. None of those sects were permitted to refuse a legitimate decree bearer. Lin Yuan immediately understood that the jade bypassed the access problem he had considered impossible. He asked why grandfather Lin had never used such an opportunity himself. The old war hero smiled and admitted the answer had nothing to do with courage. He obtained the decree after his own youthful ambitions had already begun fading. At that time, Lin Yuan's grandmother had been seriously ill and required him nearby. Leaving her to chase immortality had not been a choice he was willing to make. After she died, the desire to seek the Tao disappeared with much of his personal ambition. He chose instead to preserve the decree for a descendant who could use it better. The first intended successor had been Lin Yuan's father, a talented martial artist and strategist. Grandfather Lin believed his son possessed the temperament and ability to enter a greater world. War destroyed that plan before the decree could ever be passed to him. Lin Yuan's father died on the border, joining the other losses that emptied the family tree. Remembering those deaths hardened grandfather Lin's expression until murderous intent briefly filled the room. Lin Yuan understood that his own survival was the only reason the old man remained restrained. Without one living heir, the war hero might have already abandoned politics and pursued revenge openly. Lin Yuan promised that people responsible for his family's losses would not escape forever. Grandfather Lin accepted the promise, but insisted revenge could not become the ceiling of his future. The decree represented a path far larger than settling grudges inside northern Qin. He told Lin Yuan to inject spiritual energy into the jade and place it against his forehead. Lin Yuan followed the instruction and felt the decree vibrate against his consciousness. His awareness was pulled into a flood of images carrying the weight of ancient history. Scenes from distant eras flashed past too quickly for ordinary memory to examine individually. Then a colossal mountain appeared above the clouds, dominating the vision like a divine monument. The image carried the feeling of countless trials, inheritances, and lives shaped around one destination. When the vision ended, Lin Yuan returned to the room with new information already embedded in his mind. The immortal fate decrees originated during an ancient period of the Green Jade region. Their creators believed cultivation depended on more than talent. Discipline, or clever techniques. At the highest levels, fortune itself could determine whether someone survived opportunities others never encountered. To find people blessed with extraordinary fate, ancient experts forged 1,000 decrees. They scattered those tokens across the immense region, instead of keeping them inside established sect families. Anyone who found and preserved one demonstrated a level of luck the creators considered meaningful. The scale made that argument difficult to dismiss once Lin Yuan understood the surrounding population. Hidden Sword Mountain alone oversaw enormous territories containing billions of ordinary people. Yet that entire domain represented only a tiny fragment of the greater Green Jade region. Across the full territory, populations reached scales Lin Yuan could barely visualize. 1,000 tokens distributed among countless lives made each decree statistically absurdly rare. The 9 great sects therefore treated a bearer as someone carrying fate worth respecting. Their ancient agreement guaranteed admission even when a holder performed poorly during formal trials. A decree bearer could fail early, lose contests, or display mediocre conventional talent. The final right to choose a sect still remained. That happened because the token itself represented the qualification. That rule made Lin Yuan effectively accepted before he ever reached Tao Tribulation Mountain. He was not purchasing favor, borrowing royal influence, or begging an elder for sponsorship. The path had already been opened by a treasure his grandfather preserved through decades of family tragedy. Lin Yuan compared the 9 sects with Hidden Sword Mountain and realized the difference was enormous. Hidden Sword Mountain looked powerful, only from the limited perspective of surrounding secular kingdoms. The 9 great sects stood at the top of the entire Green Jade region. Their inheritances stretched back through ancient eras and had survived changes that erased countless nations. An ordinary elder from one of them could possess power capable of destroying smaller sects effortlessly. That meant the decree in Lin Yuan's hand linked him directly to forces beyond anything Northern Qin could resist. He stared at the jade and found a new contradiction inside his recovered novel memories. If the original Lin family possessed such a treasure, why had the clan been wiped out so easily? One accepted disciple from a great sect should have changed the family's political value completely. The original story had never mentioned the decree before the Lin household disappeared. That missing detail joined Wu Wang's changed identity as another sign the world differed from the novel. Lin Yuan no longer knew whether the book had been incomplete or reality had already diverged. Either way, he refused to depend on plot memory as if it were perfect destiny. His real advantages were current strength, comprehension, allies, and choices he could verify. Grandfather Lin watched his silence and teased him for finally looking genuinely stunned. The old man claimed he had remained perfectly composed when first discovering the decree years ago. Lin Yuan responded with dry respect, allowing his grandfather to enjoy the harmless exaggeration. The brief exchange relaxed tension that had surrounded assassinations, parasites, and family deaths all day. Then grandfather Lin returned to the practical question of timing. The next Dao Tribulation Mountain trial was expected in roughly 2 months. That gave Lin Yuan a fixed window before his life moved beyond Northern Qin. Grandfather Lin told him to spend those 2 months preparing, rather than rushing toward Immortal territory carelessly. Lin Yuan considered the time more than sufficient for the problems immediately surrounding his family. His first responsibility remained securing the Lin estate before leaving it behind. The parasite network had to be identified before hidden controllers could activate compromised people. Zhang Tong's remaining agents needed to be found inside the academy and elsewhere in the capital. The Wei family's hostility could no longer be ignored after their open obstruction during an imperial investigation. The court's intentions also required watching. That happened because the emperor's affection and political calculations remained difficult to separate. Pongyang's connection to an immortal sect created another deadline beyond internal capital politics. If Longdu's preparations accelerated, Northern Qin could face a crisis before Lin Yuan ever reached Dao Tribulation Mountain. Grandfather Lin agreed that enemies hiding behind decades of caution would probably become more active now. Lin Yuan's public strength had destroyed the assumption that the Lin family would simply fade away. Grandfather Lin's restored health removed another weakness rivals had been counting on. Thousands of recovering veterans added disciplined force the family had not possessed openly for years. Zhang Tong's exposure damaged one infiltration network. Meanwhile also warning every surviving conspirator. Those changes meant hidden enemies would need to move quickly or lose opportunities permanently. Grandfather Lin's killing intent returned as he promised to drag them into the light. Lin Yuan did not object. That happened because the family finally had enough strength to respond instead of only endure. Still, he intended to act through evidence whenever possible, rather than create enemies from assumptions. His recovered memories had already been proven imperfect, making blind revenge almost as dangerous as blind trust. The immortal fate decree remained in his hand as a reminder that Northern Qin was only the opening stage. God-level comprehension had transformed local techniques into overwhelming power. But higher methods now waited beyond the empire. Restrictions alone had shown how much knowledge existed outside the martial systems he had mastered. If an introductory immortal manual could reveal invisible parasites, true sect libraries might change his talent again. That possibility excited Lin Yuan more than rankings, noble status, or court recognition ever could. Every new law he encountered could become understandable at a speed that turned centuries of inheritance into immediate growth. Breakthrough insight might then push those immortal methods beyond limits their original creators considered fixed. For the first time, the scale of his talent felt larger than the survival problem that awakened it. Yet Lin Yuan refused to let that future distract him from people, still depending on him now. Grandfather Lin had only recently escaped the old injuries that nearly killed him. The returning veterans were still being treated and reorganized around a family suddenly visible to every rival. Lu Hanyin remained inside the estate, part of a future Lin Yuan no longer trusted but had not condemned. Xia Qingha had already carried a hidden parasite without knowing, proving innocence could coexist with dangerous contamination. Wang represented an even greater unknown. That happened because the supposed protagonist had changed beyond recognition. Lin Yuan therefore treated the coming 2 months as a cleanup period before a much larger journey. First he would secure his family, then settle active threats, then leave for Dao Tribulation Mountain. Grandfather Lin approved the sequence. That happened because abandoning unresolved dangers would make cultivation elsewhere impossible to focus on. The old man also understood that Lin Yuan's departure would remove the clan's strongest new deterrent from the capital. Any enemy waiting for that moment needed to be identified before the decree pulled him away. They discussed estate security, veteran deployment, supply inspections, and methods for testing people without spreading panic. Lin Yuan planned to teach only the necessary parasite detection procedures to trusted specialists. The complete demon heart restriction would remain private. That happened because spreading enemy techniques carelessly could create new problems. Samples from Jiang Tong stash would be preserved for comparison with medicines, powders, and gifts entering the estate. Old Mo would coordinate household screening. Meanwhile, keeping infected people isolated until Lin Yuan examined them. Grandfather Lin would use his restored authority to contact veterans capable of tracing Longdu movement along military routes. The Academy's department heads would be forced to audit Jiang Tong's records, private meetings, and historical appointments. Imperial security could handle ordinary arrests once Lin Yuan separated confirmed agents from frightened bystanders. The plan used existing institutions where useful, without trusting any institution blindly. That balance reflected Lin Yuan's larger strategy since awakening: exploit systems without becoming dependent on them. His talent worked the same way, absorbing every technique, meanwhile remaining loyal to none of their original limitations. The political world around him was now becoming another structure to understand, test, and move through carefully. Grandfather Lin ended the private discussion by reminding him that survival still mattered more than proving strength. Lin Yuan accepted the warning. That happened because he had no intention of dying after finally gaining a path beyond the novel. His family had already lost too many people to wars and schemes no one properly explained. The next 2 months would determine whether he left behind a stable clan or another future massacre. That night, the Lin estate changed from recovery center into a guarded investigation hub. Veterans moved through assigned quarters. Meanwhile, trusted servants inspected supplies that had recently entered the household. Medicines from royal, merchant, and private sources were separated until Lin Yuan could compare them safely. Old Mo began discreet examinations among people with the most exposure to palace gifts and academy contacts. Every negative result narrowed the threat. Meanwhile, every suspicious reaction created another path back toward the network. Lin Yuan kept the Immortal Fate Decree hidden rather than allowing news of it to reach the capital. The token was too valuable to become another political weapon before he could leave Northern Qin. Only the smallest trusted circle knew that the last Lin heir now possessed guaranteed access to the 9 sects. Publicly, the capital still saw the same young inspector who had destroyed Jiang Tong and humiliated Wei Jinghai. Privately, Lin Yuan had already acquired a future no local faction could easily control. Elsewhere, the consequences of the Academy purge reached the Northern Qin Palace before the capital had even finished processing the rumors. The Emperor received news that a respected Academy founder had concealed his allegiance and deceived the court for years. Whatever calculations he had made when sending Lin Yuan to inspect the Academy, the betrayal itself triggered genuine fury. Deep inside the palace, the ruler smashed valuable porcelain as anger overwhelmed his usual imperial restraint. He cursed the traitor and demanded how someone so close to Northern Qin's institutions had deceived him so completely. The palace rage contrasted sharply with the controlled planning happening inside the Lin estate at the same time. Lin Yuan no longer needed the emperor's approval to know the investigation had uncovered something far larger than one corrupt teacher. Zhang Tong was dead. But his parasite methods, hidden associates, and Longdu connections remained active threats across the capital. Pongyang was alive somewhere beyond the secular world, carrying knowledge and backing Northern Qin could not measure accurately. The Wei family had revealed how quickly old political enemies would still test the Lin clan despite its restored strength. Wang had shattered Lin Yuan's confidence in the novel's exact future simply by existing in a form his memories never predicted. Xiaqing's infection proved familiar faces could become victims of the conspiracy without knowingly choosing a side. Grandfather Lin's recovery gave the family time. Meanwhile, the returning veterans gave it the strength to use that time. The Immortal Fate Decree gave Lin Yuan something even more important, a path beyond the empire before local politics could trap him again. 2 months now separated him from Dao Tribulation Mountain and guaranteed access to one of the 9 great sects. Every day would be spent securing the Lin family, identifying hidden enemies, and preparing for a world far larger than Northern Qin. God-level comprehension had already turned ordinary manuals into overwhelming martial power and enemy restrictions into usable knowledge. The next library he entered might belong to an immortal sect, where even introductory methods exceeded everything the Empire considered legendary. Lin Yuan began this second life trying only to escape a scripted family massacre. But his choices had already broken the story he remembered. For now, he closed the Immortal Fate Decree in his hand and prepared to settle Northern Qin before the mountain trials arrived.